Viewer listener discretion is advised. The majority of the content of this program is not factual. It is highly advised that it not be used for teaching your children from said content, other than making an example out of the hosts of what they should not grow up to be. Remember this, it's the beer talking.
Welcome to the truth about beer.
Join us as we seek out the truth. The truth.
What happens when we die? Does our soul go to some mystical place in the stars? Or is our soul destined to walk the earth forever in a different dimension? Or does our soul get reincarnated? The philosophy of reincarnation goes clear back to Greek mythology with Socrates and Plato. Reincarnation, a Latin term that literally means entering the flesh again. Although some religions don't believe in reincarnation, several do, such as Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, and certain forms of paganism. It is believed that when we die, our soul is reborn into another biological vessel. Does this explain child prodigies? What do you think happens when we die? You believe you have been reincarnated? Join us as self-published author Dan Davidson shares with us what he has learned and come to believe in researching for his latest book, The Soul of Juby Walker.
That's a great picture, by the way.
Yeah, it was shocking. I think I was a lesbian.
It was a shocking revelation.
Yeah, I think I was a lesbian prostitute.
Oh, welcome to the Truth About Beer, everybody. And
Already digressed. Oh yeah,
we're not in 30 seconds.
I got thinking about what I was talking. Okay, yes.
Guess what?
Reincarnation.
What? Yes, reincarnation.
That was the truth about beer, and
Yeah.
and then I was supposed to say reincarnation.
Right.
It worked.
Okay.
Eventually, it happened.
I mean, there's a pretty good pause in between there, but
Yes. And Christine's our big winner tonight. She was on first.
What'd you win?
welcome, Christine.
She won first.
Congratulations.
Oh, bragging rights.
Bragging rights
Well, there you go.
against Mike the Naked, who's on.
Hello,
Hey.
Mike.
We've got Wendy. Saw Wendy on there. Kathleen's on. Lindsay's on. Tim Rice, Mr. Tim Rice. Welcome.
Tim, Tim, Tim.
Lourdes is on. Hey, Lourdes.
Hello, Lord.
I love that name.
Isn't that a great name?
It's just such a cool name.
Hello, Tim.
Yeah, we got a full house tonight. It's awesome.
Drink a beer.
Yeah, let's drink a beer. Let's do it.
So,
So-
what are we drinking?
We're drinking
Beer.
Omi Gang.
Very dark.
Did they leave a letter off?
Why?
I don't know.
what?
Or is
Well,
it-
well, what do you think? of
Homie
that?
gang.
I mean, oh me, I don't
Oh,
know. I was thinking it was missing some kind of a T or a.
No,
Oh, okay.
no, it's only, I think that's how you say it. Omi Gang. I don't know. We'll see. See what happens. I'll give you a little history on it. So this is a brewery out of Cooperstown, New York, opened in 1997. It's got an interesting little story behind it. So Roman Emperor King Charles V visited medieval Brussels in 1549 with hundreds from his royal court to welcome king, merchants, vendors, cooks, brewers, musicians, theater troops, dancers, and more lined up around the city walls to join in the celebration as his entourage passed by. The parade became known as Omi Gang,
Ah.
where that is what variously means coming together and walking about. The Brussels Omi Gang Festival continues to this day.
Well, it sounds like a party.
Right, it is a party.
And everyone's
Speaking of
invited.
parties, we should probably introduce our guest tonight.
Let's do that.
We should do that. Yes.
So we got self-published author, Mr. Dan Davidson, on with us tonight. There you go.
Hey, Al.
How you doing, everybody?
We're getting ready to drink beer. I like
Yeah,
this.
I already tried mine.
Did you guys already pour it?
I poured
Smells
mine.
incredible.
There was no head at all. I think
gonna
mine was
cheat-
flat.
cheat.
I got some.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
I didn't. Mine was lackluster in the head. You know how that is.
Mm,
Unbelievable.
good.
I got too much head on mine. I got to wait.
No, yeah, it's got a hint of cherries in it, but I don't think I.
It's
much
the
cherry.
caramel that really hits me.
Not sure what that flavor is.
What do you got?
Caramel?
It's got a little bite to it.
Does it?
I like it.
I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah, there it is.
There's the bite or there's what?
The cherry. The cherry smell. The flavor.
That's from New York. you
I
see.
like that.
Is that what that is?
9.7.
Oh, it's the New York
Got
cherry.
the-
Well, if it's from New York, it has to be good.
That's pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
I like
That's
it.
pretty good. I agree with that.
Guess what I think?
What? You don't like it, do you?
No, it's man style. It's way too man style for me.
not frou-frou enough.
There's not nearly enough frou-frou in that beer for me to
No, it's pretty good. It's not bad.
get you drunk.
Got a good flavor to it. It's strong. It's what is it? A
It's,
nine?
that's
9
definitely
point?
strong.
9.7.
Yeah, 9.7. It's
Yeah,
almost
that's- we're going to be
going up to a 10.
toasted by the end of this.
Two of these,
Wow.
you're done.
Yeah, you're done. I don't even know about 2. It may just be 1.
Yeah, one of these would be. I'd be like, well,
Yeah, it's kind of like see, I can't even talk already. The dead guy ale that we did.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, was
Yep.
very similar in
yeah,
alcohol content too.
Yeah.
a nice punch in the face, kind of like you're drinking something.
We had a lot of fun.
We did have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was good.
Wow.
Yeah,
Hey.
all over the can.
If you're joining us and you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do.
Yeah, yeah.
Please go
It would be
subscribe.
very awesome.
Just don't smash that button.
Yes.
No, do smash that.
Smash that
button.
like button.
Just press the button. Like
Give it a
normal
thumbs
human
up.
Being. Do we have to smash everything now?
Share it.
And let them know that it doesn't cost anything.
That's true.
to
It's free.
subscribe.
It is free.
It is free.
That's important.
It's free.
It's very free, and it's very makes you a very good person.
It only costs 1 hour of your time each week.
Well, as much as you're willing to invest. The important thing is,
What?
let's get to a topic because the beer. I'm done with the beer.
Are you really?
I'm done with the beer. I'm interested in the topic.
Hey, John's on. John P.
Hey.
Welcome. All right. So our topic tonight is reincarnation,
Bam.
which is a Latin term which literally means to enter the flesh again.
Yes, it does.
I was waiting.
I'm helping you, Joey.
My mind tonight is in the wrong place.
When you said into
Everything's
the
going-
flesh again, I thought. the
Yeah,
same
you
thing.
know what I mean.
I thought the same thing. It's
Okay.
You guys get your mind out.
Moving
I
along.
know.
It's always there. We just sometimes we're better at controlling it. Other times it's like, oh, I got something awful to say. So it's good. All right.
So, there's a lot of stories about reincarnation.
There's a lot.
Oh
of
yeah,
religions about
I've watched
reincarnation.
a few YouTube videos. They're
There-
very interesting.
There's actually a lady specifically who has a lot of videos out. Her name is Kendall Ray,
Mm.
and she posts all the different reincarnation videos. And I think you saw one of them about the World War II.
Right. She
Reincarnated.
also has her own show on there about unusual, happenings and crimes and stuff like that. It's just not about reincarnation.
Right.
She does other things. She's very good. Very good.
Yeah, she's got some good stories.
Check her out.
Yeah. So the one that comes to mind that I know is the little boy who they believe is reincarnated from World War II. He's a World War II pilot. And apparently when he was 2 years old, he's spitting out knowledge of military planes and just military in general that no 2-year-old would know.
Correct.
And then started waking up from really bad nightmares. He would have nightmares that his plane would crash and he'd wake up screaming and crying. So
That's true. I'm not sure. I have one of those cases tonight that I'm going to talk about. I'm not sure if it's specifically the boy you're talking about, but it's a similar, case. So if it's not the boy you're talking about, it's certainly similar in a lot of ways. But there's a lot of that going on.
yeah,
And most of it involves children. It kind of does push over to adults sometimes, but it's usually, young children. And there's a reason for that. We can talk about that too.
The veil.
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Exactly.
right.
Hey, Lisa, thanks for jumping on. Mike
is
the
the-
Naked's on.
This is a subject that I have, I guess, I don't want to say more knowledge because nobody has any knowledge about it, but more experience with than a lot of the subjects you guys talk about. Just being that I was brought up in a church, there was a Hindu Christian mix, so it was odd. We had both Krishna and Babaji and Christ were all on the altar at this church.
Right.
So we believed in reincarnation, and believed in the teachings of Christ as well, which wrap your head around that one. But the big part of that was the idea that the resurrection, or Jesus's resurrection, was more about showing the eternality of our spirit, and that we're not the body, than about the absolution of sins from humanity. It was more about the spirit is eternal. And I always found that comforting as a kid, because my biggest thing was, I like the idea of forgetting people. So reincarnation has a lot of really good, or I guess it justified a lot of stuff in the world to me when I was young.
Yeah.
So I never did understand. I went to camp, I went to a church camp that wasn't my church when I was a kid, and they did not believe in reincarnation. And I told them I did, and I didn't make any friends for the rest of the time. They were less than polite about it, but I couldn't understand how they found any comfort in that idea. Like, it's, as a child, especially, like, how you feel good about that? Like, yeah, you're just dead. It's over.
So their belief was it was final. That was it.
Yep.
Okay.
The finality of death. And that's okay. So your spirit goes to be wherever it's going to be, either burning in hell or up in.
Right.
I thought that's a really, really awful, something that I whether it's true or not, doesn't matter. Because to me, it's just a horrible way to think that it happens. Anyway.
It's interesting what Jack began with when he said that he went to a church that recognized both, Christianity and Jesus, and also reincarnation. A lot of people are under the wrong impression that if you want to believe in reincarnation, you can't believe in Christ or God or anything like that. It's contradictory, and it's totally the opposite of that.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with that. So he brought up a good point. Are you reading my notes, Jack?
I'm not reading your notes. It's just that this is what I have experience with, and so when we were going to get into the subject with you, I was very curious, because I don't know all of your background, but I understood it to be more of a traditional Christian type of background. So I've found that most of the people that I guess consider, I don't want to say fundamentalists, but that are basically just straight Christians, don't really have I don't know what you call it, compassionate understanding of people who believe in reincarnation. Most of it comes from probably that camp I went to when I was a kid, because I was literally just treated like an absolute piece of crap after they found out that I believe in reincarnation. And it really, I don't know, traumatized me, for lack of a better term.
It keeps moving.
There
we go.
Well, the thing that you have to remember, though, is most people that are raised Christian or Jewish, for that matter, or Muslim, I don't know much about the Muslim faith, but they're raised with an understanding that their way is the only way.
Yeah.
So they kind of accept that, and that's the way. It's not so much they block out the idea of reincarnation; they just don't consider it. It's not part of their exactly. So
no, you're right, and but as I was younger, I'd never thought of it that way, because the church I went to recognized Christianity as its thing, and it was part of the same teachings, which is, as SRF, they provide lessons that are kind of an amalgam of both,
right,
and they're very accepting of all those things, and understand that, or kind of teach that there's no one way to God.
Well put.
But by the way, Naked's point there left me with a lot of questions after that.
What was Naked's point?
I'll put it back up again and say, it makes me think that, even after we leave this life, perhaps we do have a choice of what we do.
So his comment says the soul is on a wheel that brings it to new lives. You can break that wheel, make it stop, but the universe will be poorer for it.
Yeah.
That's deep.
That is
deep.
That left me with a lot of questions.
That's deep.
It's interesting because, again, the part of that idea, I guess, or this idea of reincarnation and the soul being the driving spirit of us, but also separate, like whatever the totality of your experiences are of all your lifetimes, if there's more than one, is obviously kept secret from you here. So you're just experiencing this one life. So this bleed over where dreams, come through and we start interpreting them as past lives, or people start deciding that they know things from past lives, has always baffled me, because that goes against what I understand the whole point to be, and that it's a journey for your soul, that it doesn't help to know your past lives in this form,
right?
In your higher form as a soul or as a spirit, you can use all that information for whatever the purpose is of our existence, but in the individual life, that information is not not necessary or usable really. So,
Well, that probably explains why most people don't experience reincarnation thoughts or dreams or
right.
any kind of inkling that they may have been a reincarnation of another soul. I think that's part of the reason, because everybody is not as, what's the word I'm looking for? Free to feel that way. Some people are just more vulnerable to those thoughts than other people, and especially young children, because
Right.
they still have, as you said, memories that they're not sure about. But I kind of went on yesterday and looked up definitions of reincarnation, and I found that most of them were quite lengthy and quite deep in what they were saying. And I think that just to understand what reincarnation is, if you believe in reincarnation, you believe that after death, a person's soul is reborn in another body. That's pretty much what it is, reincarnation. And certain religions, like as Joey said in his great opening there, Buddhism, Hinduism, Shintoism, all of those religions, they believe strongly. It's part of their ideology. They believe strongly in reincarnation. And you're talking about, was it 1.4 billion people in the world that believe in reincarnation? That's a pretty impressive number. That's
That is
like
a big
almost
number.
20% of the world population.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. So yeah, I wouldn't just blow it off as not being possible. I'm not totally convinced it is,
Right.
but I'm certainly not totally convinced it isn't.
Now, John was asking, so in your research for your book that you did you come across anything that said that everybody gets reincarnated, or just some people? Are there souls that are fresh or new and not reincarnated?
There is an implication that everybody's soul gets reincarnated, but there is no solid evidence that that's true. You have to base everything on the information you have in front of you. And there's many, many hundreds of cases of people who claim to be reincarnated. But in order for something like that to a statement that would commit to the fact that everyone gets reincarnated, no, I never saw any one statement that said that. Not at all.
And that would be rooted in sort of the Hindu belief that it's sort of a credit system, and you ascend. So you eventually ascend beyond it.
Right.
Once you reach Christ consciousness or whatever, you don't have to come back, because the whole point is to get to a certain level. Your soul has an evolution to go through. And once it reaches its peak, there's no reason to be here, because being here is the physicality. It's the experience. Because what I was told is knowing, being, and what is it? Knowing, being, and I don't remember what the third one is, but essentially you can know everything that exists until you experience any of it. Oh, that's what it is. Knowing, experience, and being. So to get Christ consciousness, you could know all the things about the world, all the things about existence. If you've never done any of those things or experienced them, you're lacking. So the human experience, living, is getting that physical experience, and you can't do it all in one lifetime.
Right.
So the multiple lifetime is to gain all those experiences. And if you live to 6 years old in your life and you're dead because you get hit by a car or whatever, how is that? It goes, to me, it always goes to a cosmic sense of fairness, in that that's not a full life.
Right.
By any estimation. Some people say, oh, they're blessed, they just move up. I'm like, that's kind of crappy and horrible. So I always thought, like, made more sense that you come back and you get another shot. You try another life, you try another road, another experience, and that builds your soul to be whatever it's meant to be. It just always made such sense to me. And maybe just because when I was young, like the idea of a one life, one shot, hey, it's do or die, and you're damned or not. Well, I was like, that is the most ridiculous, unsettling thing for me.
Yeah. And that's the 80% that believe
I know, that's so crazy to me. That's so hard for me to understand. And just, I guess probably because I was raised, but I like, that's it. I don't know what it would do. I don't know if it would change anything.
The point you made about a 6-year-old dying, if you look at what the Buddhists believe in, and I think you know this from your background, and the Hindus believe, the younger you die, the closer you are to your final step.
Huh.
That's what they believe. They believe that, why does a newborn baby die? They say because they're ready to make that last step. And I mean,
that was the final part of their journey to.
Who am I to say they're wrong? I mean, that's what they think.
But they're still in a multiple lifetime scale. It wasn't their one and only.
Right.
That's the part where, like, when you see like the hardcore Baptists that are like, nope, that baby was 6. He didn't accept Jesus. I'm like, come on.
That goes into Mormonism too, because that's
right.
They believe babies that that die in infancy and all that they go straight to
ticket.
Yeah, that's a golden ticket. So
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
yeah.
I want to say hi to Taylor and Sylvia joined us since we started. So, hey guys, thanks for joining.
Howdy.
So I got a question because it kind of touches on what we do with paranormal investigating with, when we talk to spirits and everything.
Mhm.
So when somebody dies, does their soul go directly? Because you always used to hear that saying that every time somebody dies, there's a baby born, right? Which we know statistically that's not possible. But so does the soul automatically just go directly into another body, or does it kind of hang around in that third dimension for a while and then it'll get picked up somewhere? I mean, how does that work?
Depending on who you ask.
Right.
Again, you got a multiple of opinions about reincarnation, and most people believe that you don't automatically go into the next body. You could, linger a little bit out there in whatever that place is, and until your turn comes up. Other people believe you go directly into the next body. So it depends on who you're reading and who you're asking.
So Dan,
Yes.
would you? There's a question on there, and I know a lot of people wonder this about being able to reincarnate between species. And that kind of thing. And I know I happen to know that some people do believe that. And more to the point, have you become familiar with the ones that believe you can also go regressively? So you can actually go from human to animal and
come back as a turtle.
Well, yeah, actually, the way I understood it from what I read on it, it's not that many people that believe that. There is a group that strongly believes that, but most people stop at the point of soul to soul, human to human.
Right.
But there are people that do, and some are in the Hindu faith, some are in the Buddhist faith.
That's why we love cows.
I was going to say the sacred cow, right?
Exactly.
Sacred
But
cow
I
is
think even
vegetarian.
with them, you never go from a bug, let's say from a caterpillar to a human.
Yeah, it's weird.
You go the other way. You go, I should say you don't go from a human to, I apologize. I said that reverse. You don't go from a human to a caterpillar. You go from a caterpillar to another animal, and you work your way up to a human.
Which I always thought was funny because really when it goes to effort and all that stuff, I mean, it seems like it would kind of be a leg up if you had to do less. So maybe I'd rather be a dog. What do they have to do? They just kind of eat and love life and get on with it. It sounds better than what we do on a regular basis. So I don't know why it'd be a bad thing, but it is true that it's considered to be sort of a regression that way.
It reminds me of the movie Beetlejuice.
It should.
Remember when they're all sitting out there, you're pulling their ticket? That's what it reminds me of. Scene from Beetlejuice.
That's
Yeah, I was going to say at the beginning of that it goes along with what kind of what Mike said about getting on the wheel,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you could ride that wheel for a while, and then I've been stuck on a Ferris wheel before. It broke down, and we were sitting on it for quite a while.
Not quite as fun though.
Wasn't quite as fun.
I think the big question with that is, though, who's controlling the wheel?
There you
Who's
go.
controlling the wheel? And then again, time. Again, we all know time is a very relative and kind of human thing. So is there any, you say, 10 to 200 years, what difference does that make? It's a blink of an eye in the eternal clock. You know what I mean? So down on earth, what's here is 10 to 200 years. Yep. It's, and that's, that's a part where your brain starts melting and things get really confusing.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
So Christine believes that you go to heaven, and then when your time comes, you get reincarnated, no matter if it's 10 years or 200 years. So it means you kind of go to Club Med for a while, and then when you get called back down,
Well, she's right about that. Most people that believe in the reincarnation itself think there is a stopover before you convert to the next soul.
Check this one out.
Because, for lack of another word, heaven would make sense because, it's the place to be. So that makes sense in a way. But I mean, again, there's a new, when you do research on reincarnation, you'll find 1,000 different opinions of the same subject.
Right.
It's amazing. It's just amazing. So that's why you don't have any concrete evidence. It's like, it's like convincing somebody that there's a heaven and hell, or convincing somebody that everybody on tonight would appreciate, trying to convince people that ghosts are real.
It's very
it's really a hard thing to do.
We're dealing with intangibles and
Exactly.
intangibles of the biggest level. And this one, I love this. I just don't understand why people would want their soul to go into another body, have to relive what they left, which is Earth, which is not a very good place. If that makes any sense, it makes total sense. What's funny about that is it says you don't understand why people would want their soul to go into another body. Well, you're talking about what people would want. versus what your soul wants. And you don't know what your soul wants any more than I do. And this is what I was always told. Whatever the ultimate goal of our souls is obviously not for us to know. Because everybody here who claims, and this is just going to be the most bold out there statement I'm going to make, but everyone here who claims to know anything about what happens after we die is absolutely full of crap and guessing. Nobody knows any of it. You can feel it to your absolute core, but you don't know anything. And that's just the truth about all of it. The reality is nobody knows.
Yeah.
So, and I know the theories that bring me comfort and the things that bring other people comfort, and they're not going to be the same, but it's interesting. I always love when I hear somebody say something that I'd never considered, that goes against my own point. And this is why I got married to the woman I got married to. Is she had the most, she said something to me that actually made sense in defense of organized religion, that I'd never considered, and made me think about it again, which is cool because I'd stopped thinking about it a long time ago.
Yeah.
What you're talking about is faith, though.
That's exactly right. And faith is huge.
huge.
And if you don't have the mechanics or the ability to really delve into faith, what's wrong with you? And this is the thing for me. I can't say that I have a deep faith, but I'm content with my life. I have an amazing life. I've had an amazing life. I don't know what faith brings to the table other than no longer fearing losing my life that I have, because I like my life.
Right.
So I'm not looking forward to dying.
Well, I think it's a comfort. Faith's a comfort, just like reincarnation's a
That's
comfort.
exactly right.
It's-
Exactly right.
It's something you want to believe in, and you want to know there's more to it than just this.
Right.
And that's why reincarnation works for 20% of the population.
Absolutely. That's what the ones who say that they why would you want to come back and have another life? To me, it's like, because I'm going to come back and have another life because I don't dislike my life.
And you want to do it right next time anyway, right?
No. I did it right this time.
Okay.
Everything's perfect.
Okay.
Jack should have been sitting here tonight.
Yeah,
He's
you
got-
really
he's
should.
got
That's
some
what I was
good-
just thinking.
He's got some
Thinking
good points.
We're kind of sitting here just looking funny.
I told you this is my
Like I
thing.
said, I feel like he read all my notes.
No,
Yeah.
I just lived this for a good portion of my life, because when I was really young, I went to a couple of what I guess you'd call traditional churches, and I felt like I don't believe any of this. This doesn't make sense to me. And then the church that my mother forced me to go to throughout my childhood, I initially hated it too, because it was the same old thing to me. And then I listened and I learned a lot, and I learned how to meditate, and I learned a lot from it. And it brought me comfort that I think that a lot of that religion brings to most people. That's what it is. It gives you some comfort with life and with knowing that life is not forever and eternal. And
Exactly.
and yeah, that if you've ever seen the movie, there's a movie called The Invention of Lying. And that movie has a very, very jaded view of religion, but it tells a really funny story to the idea of how religion came about, in that the guy's watching his mother die, and he just starts making shit up because she's terrified. She says, "Oh, no, you're not going to go away. You're going to go to this big house in the sky, and everybody you've ever known is going to be there." And she's like, "Really?" And getting super excited. And then other people overhear him and go, "What's going to happen?"
Yeah.
And it to me, it embodies what happens with us, or what we are. Is this the idea of not existing is terrifying. So having a faith and all of that is very important to get on with life. Because if you really truly get to where you feel like there's nothing else.
Well, that's the difference between people that have a faith, or
Yeah.
people believe in reincarnation, and people who don't.
Right.
There's that comfort level that is not final. It's temporary, and things are going to go on from there. It makes it a little easier to accept that, because nobody knows, like you said, nobody knows what it means to be dead. Nobody.
Exactly.
Nobody. And until you find out, then it's too late. So either you believe or you don't believe. And some people, believe it or not, don't believe in anything. And they're comfortable with the knowing the fact that this is it. It ends right here. I'm okay with it. And they move on. And that's okay too, if you believe that. It's just, I think it's what you feel and what you believe in that helps you get by every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree 100%. And that's, it's, I don't know that it's necessary to debate this kind of stuff, but it's very interesting to me. I've always been impressed by people who think completely different than I do, but are so just like, they don't have any questions. They're just there. They got it. They're like, yeah, I know what I know 100%. That's impressive to me. Yeah. And then there's no swaying them. It's like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
You know, there's a dark side to that too, but for the most part, I'm always very impressed with people who have a deep faith, because it's just not something that I've ever had, because I've always got questions that no one's got answers to, because guess what? None of us have answers.
Yeah.
And that's because my buddy Chad was just trying to tell me, he's like,
We all have opinions.
faith is faith. He said, if you don't have any faith, I don't know how to give you any faith. And I said, I guess that's true. makes sense.
So I just want to point out there's a lot of great comments going
Yeah,
on in
there
the
are.
comment section, but I want to bring this up because this is interesting. So Savior says that's why we cry when we're born, because we remember everything from our past life. That's kind of an interesting statement, I think.
Could also be that they cut the tip of your
You're
penis.
going, oh crap, here I go again.
Yeah, here I go again.
Well, what about the ones that don't
You know,
cry? It's a good
I
thing.
have
Well, you
a
got to
question.
smack him around a little. Sorry.
I have a question for Dan though, because what was it that piqued your interest to investigate and write this book?
I was going to ask the same thing.
As this is really
I was kind
interesting
of
to me.
saving
So.
that for the end when I talked about the books, but we.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. We can talk about it. When I wrote my first book, Twice Upon a Time, it's supposed to be a paranormal romance, but it's really more about time travel and reincarnation. And when I wrote it and I finished it, I was never comfortable with the story itself for me to write it, because my co-author and I always write historical fiction. And here I am trying to do something paranormal that I know nothing about. So I had to do a lot of research. That's why, if I had known everybody that's on tonight and been on some of the shows and know a little bit about the paranormal, I'd love to write it now, because I would write it totally differently. But it's still a good story. But you know, you do better the better you know your subject matter, the better you do when you write something. So that part, the reason I did the research so deeply is I knew nothing about it. So I had a great story idea, and my wife, God bless her, made me do this. So I wrote it. Even my co-author said, "Why are we writing this? We don't even know what the hell we're talking about." I said, "I don't know, but we're going to do research on it and come up with a good." Because the story was always basically a good story, so that made it easy. And then to get the facts right and to make it believable to the reader, it was a challenge.
So I guess your book is a what? Is a novel? Is a fiction, nonfiction?
It's a fiction novel. It's supposed to be paranormal romance, but like I said, it leans towards time travel and reincarnation.
I guess
that was the first. That's the book that was out 2 years ago.
Okay.
Twice Upon a Time.
Yeah, the one that's coming out next month is all about reincarnation.
I see, but also is also a novel.
It's a novel.
Okay, very cool. I don't read a lot anymore, so
Well, I'll give you one if you want to read it.
I would love to try.
You got it.
A long time. I tried to read these things.
I'll show this again later on. We'll talk about it, but this is the book that you have up and coming that we're kind of the whole purpose of this topic tonight.
Right.
Oh wow.
So would you be Walker?
That's correct. Right.
So.
And it's a completely what do you call it?
Fiction.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it
Okay,
is.
thank
It's
you.
fiction, but it's based on many cases I've read, including the one you mentioned, the young boy, and what they've gone through and what they believe. And I'm going to also talk about some celebrities tonight. And you'd be surprised. They really believe they've been reincarnated
Oh, yeah,
I know it's
many
crazy.
times. So we'll talk about them too. And I'm sure Jack knows a few of these people. So
Oh yeah, they're best friends.
I meant that I
No,
think you
no.
know about the cases.
Well, in the stories that they teach in the lessons in the SRF, there are a few different stories about people, and again, is where I got my belief in this was it helped me justify some of the things that you see in the world that are less than pleasant, whether it's
Mhm.
disability or disfiguration, or let's be perfectly honest, we're not all on the same level. Some people are smarter, some people are cuter, and all those things they've got value. And so why in a world or in an existence that is generally accepted as being created by a being that loves us all and has some level of equality or justice, those things don't equate well. But when you add in things like karma and reincarnation, it makes sense. Or those make sense to me. He's like, that's why you're stupid, because you deserved it.
Yeah.
Next time, don't be so stupid.
It's an extreme example, but that idea of, how do people get away with all these awful things in this life? Well, because they don't. Ultimately, they don't. They pay for their soul, carries that with them, and they will pay for it one form or another. It feels unjustified because we don't get to see it. But in that, I guess, cosmic, idea of justice, everyone pays for and gets what they deserve and experiences what they're supposed to experience for, for their eternal soul.
And not to mention the fact that we live in an imperfect world.
Oh, 100%.
Anyway,
Well,
so everybody's not going to be rich. Everybody's not going to be good looking.
right.
Everybody's not going to be funny like you.
And dig deeper into that. You can dig deeper into that hole. And I'll tell you when he gets to heaven and hell, this is the hell.
Yeah.
It could be.
Well,
I've always thought that the biblical description of hell includes
is earth.
there is, well, as I understood it was the awareness of a separation from God. We definitely have that here. And as far as the suffering goes, I've never believed that your spirit's capable of suffering, because it's not a physical entity. We are. Clearly pain is part of being human. So it just made sense to me, as opposed to the whole little guy with the pitchfork in the burning place, that this was the hell. And then you're here until you move past it.
See, for me, the thought of living for eternity, that's what scares me.
Oh yeah.
I mean, when you think about our time on this earth, it's just a nanosecond,
Right.
even that, if we're going to live for eternity. So,
Yeah.
I would take a little more comfort in the idea of reincarnation, thinking that, we can continue on, you know, and live these nanoseconds of experience.
And they've got to have some collective purpose that we're not aware of. That's what I always felt about it.
I mean, nobody knows, and we can't know.
It just always made more sense to me. And to decide if I was going to join a team, that's the team I'm on. Like we're building credit, So I screwed some stuff up this time, but I'm trying. That's gonna be good next time, So, and it's the experiences that we have in this life. To me, they don't serve much purpose in just one shot. They just don't, because everybody's experience is so different.
Right.
But there again, then you get on the real other side, where it's just like, man, you're just a nothing. We have no purpose, no meaning, all that stuff. What is that? I can't remember what that belief system's called. But those people who believe that, humans are just an accident, they just exist, they're alive, then they're dead, and that's it. There's no meaning to it. And that to me is like, I don't know why you'd want to believe that. Even to me, that's just like way too dark and pointless. So it's like you get up every day thinking, yep, there's no point to this. I don't get that. What is that called? There's a freaking anyway.
Well, the fact that you keep going back to religion, which I'm trying to get off of, tells me though that you recognize that reincarnation is indeed a religion in itself.
Oh, 100%.
And the ideology is real, and all these people believe in it. So, it's something we can consider. We're not forced to believe in it or anything, but something you might want to do your own investigating in and do a little research into it and see what you think. There's a lot of interesting cases out there. I mean, I poked holes in some of it. I said, this is not working. Not for me anyway. But some of it really scared the hell out of me, because I said, how did this kid know this?
Right.
I mean, it's just impossible. I mean, I'm talking about one particular case, and I think I'll mention it years later. He was like at 18 months old. He knew things that 18 months old. You don't even walk it. I mean,
barely walking.
Barely. I mean, it was like amazing, some of this stuff. But again, you have to do your own research, really, if you're really interested in learning more about reincarnation.
Well, in our intro video, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but is that where child prodigies come from? You get these kids. I think, Jack, you and I were talking about it last week. You get these kids that are 3 years old that can play the drums like they've been playing for 40 years.
Right. And savants savants and stuff there's multiple explanations for that. One, you could believe that it's brought over from a past life. The other is whatever the hell their brain chemistry is, it just makes sense to them. Because, autism is kind of the other end of that, where they don't work correctly, but where they do work, they work exceptionally. And so it could be just purely a genetic thing.
Right.
But that genetic thing could also be a result of reincarnation and spiritual things. So it is one of those, it's another one of the many rabbit holes and spirals we can go down, that there's no definitive answers to these things, but it's very interesting to look into them. And so getting off religion, where were you going with that, Dan?
Well, no, what you just said is exactly right. It could be either or both. That's the answer to child prodigy. I mean, how does a 3-year-old learn to play the drums like that? I don't know. I can't play the drums and I'm 78. I don't know. But I'm just telling you that it could be something like the fact that they've been reincarnated from another life, that there was a drummer or something, or there was a musician or a poet, whatever the case may be, or it could be something that you just have a brilliant mind and you're able to pick up on things very quickly where other people can't. And you said autism. These children are brilliant in a lot of ways, and it's almost scary sometimes. And we got to recognize that they have sharp minds. They really do, and they're gifted, very gifted.
And yeah, and I think that the only question becomes, why? Is it just pure luck, or is it a blessing? And if it's a blessing, why did they deserve that blessing?
Right.
I would say because karma, but that's just what I would say.
True.
And that's to answer that question there with the birthmarks, the scars from past life. I've heard that before, and I've heard stories of like guys having dreams about having particular damage done in some form. So they decided that scars of past life, and it's believable, it's viable, and at the same time, it's always one of those like, well, why the hell? Why? Why would if you don't really know that it's your past life, what good does it do to have that? But combined with that vision, it does make sense. It's just, again, you have to believe that you can tap into those things.
And I put that up because I have heard that story of people being born with birthmarks that resembled cuts or some type of trauma from the past life.
There's even the stories of people who have rope burns around their neck, and in their last life they were hung. There's a lot. In fact, in my book, I document a couple of cases similar to that, but it's very true. A lot of people, when they in their belief that they've been reincarnated, feel pain, feel certain things physically that the past life experienced, and I don't think it's explainable, but it's a fact.
Well, I felt when I was younger, I had a lot of belief that I had been a soldier many times because I had lots of dreams of being killed, and no good reason for that, and I didn't really have any experience to tie to it, but had a few very, very lucid, vivid dreams of being killed. And what do you do with it? I don't know. Well, my mother decided that was, oh, you must have been a soldier, and she had all these wonderful stories and ideas of what it came from and this and that. And I was kind of, okay, sounds good.
Did she believe in reincarnation?
Of course.
Well, there you go. I mean, for thousands of years, we've been having wars with soldiers. And so your odds are, if you lived all those lives before, it's very possible you were a soldier somewhere down the line.
It makes sense. It may make sense.
We'll talk about that later, too.
All right.
I was a sex worker.
No, we're talking about previous lives, Joey. Previous lives. not previous careers. And I'm talking last summer. We're talking about.
No, going back to the birthmark one. Did you see the story? Read the story of it was a the father that was a fisherman, and he had a certain birthmark and whatever, and but he did tell his family that he whenever he would pass it, he would come back, and that's what they would look for.
The birthmark.
It was the birthmark, and I believe that he got lost at sea or something. Never came back, but they assumed he was dead. And was maybe a year later that the daughter had a son, and the son ended up with the birthmark in the same spot.
Damn.
And as the kid got older, he knew all the great fishing spots to go to.
Oh, for crying out loud. That's amazing.
I think you're talking about a story. I think that came out of New England, and the gentleman that died was killed in a shipwreck. And I think, I think it's the same. It sounds very similar to it.
Probably. I don't know all the fine details, but yeah, I know that.
I just skimmed over that case, but it's ringing a bell.
I know he died at sea, whatever.
Yes, and I think it was a shipwreck. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that was very interesting.
That's very cool. That's beyond interesting. It's almost, you almost want to say like, how could you deny it? But then I don't know how much power we have once we go, how much control do we have? I've always told myself, I keep telling myself, hopefully that in the past life, I already did this. So someday when I'm working on a building, doing a tear down or tearing something out, I'm going to find a note to myself. You know what I mean? Then planning on hiding and saying, if you found this, it's proof it's reincarnation because you're a dumbass and that.
Remember to hide the Playboy in a different spot.
Yeah, same idea. Because I figure I want to do that. I want to write, want to do that now, mark stuff. My wife, one of her family members was working on the temple, and then they were deconstructing it, and they found their family name written on the inside of one of these old construction pieces. That's just freaking cool.
Wow.
That's just freaking cool. It's not super specific, but at the same time, to me, that's neat. But that's that kind of idea I would love. But if I write my name, what's that going to mean to me later? So like, is what name's going to be written on the side of a wall? I'm going to find
Right.
like, that must have been me. Anyway,
I like that comment. I used to have dreams that I fell from a plane and died, and now they're petrified of heights. So does that go back to that karma thing, Jack?
No, I don't think so. The dreams, when you're having dreams of falling from a plane, if you're not scared, something's wrong.
Yeah, but when you have certain phobias though, and you can't explain why you have that phobia.
You see, and I think that goes into a psychological stuff, because there's lots of people with irrational fears that I don't know if there's any need for karma or reincarnation. Karma, as I understood it, was sort of a credit system, in that your whether it's your social status or your relationship status or whatever the case may be, all your interactions in life sort of amount to something at the end of your life. So in your next life, whatever, those person you could just never get along with, you just get, they were just toxic and whatever, there would be some spiritual or cosmic need for you guys to find some sort of resolve in that. And so you may encounter each other in multiple lives, in different forms even, but in multiple lives, to work that out for whatever reason.
Right.
And then that's what I also understood it to be, was just sort of your position in life, and the things that you go through have everything to do with what your soul is trying to accomplish ultimately. Like, are you're not patient with people, or whatever it is our souls need to exist on, whatever the next plane of existence is. So again, it becomes one of those things like, don't really know what we're shooting for. We have our human ideals of what people should do and should be, but we don't really know how that equates beyond the life. Whether there's one or multiple, we really don't know what the hell the goal is. Someone say, oh, just to be conscious of God and do whatever he wants. And I go, well, that seems kind of shallow and whatever, but possibility. And then there could be your soul is the ultimate control of your existence, multiple lives or otherwise. And again, it's keeping it secret from us for what? I don't know. That part always pissed me off. Like, if it's my soul, why don't you let me know what's going on so I can play the right game? But I don't know that, I don't know if it has to do with phobias or not. It might be that the phobia is something that you haven't faced, and you need to at some point. I really don't know.
I mean, I've had a phobia since I'm a little kid of driving over a bridge that goes over water for some reason.
I was terrified of bridges over water.
I've always had that fear.
The worst one is on your way to Wyoming. Driving on the way to Wyoming, there's this absolute bridge that is right straight out of my nightmare. I kid you not. When we were driving in the van as we're approaching it, I'm gonna like cold sweat, like I've been there.
But where does that fear? Because nothing ever happened to make us be afraid of that. Fear is a learned.
In that moment of fear, I felt like I had died on the bridge.
Right.
So what does that mean? Had I died on that bridge? Possibly. But I don't know, because how long has that bridge been there? I was 11 at the time. So
Probably been there for 100 years.
Who knows? But it's very possible that it was a bridge that I died on. That's why it was so absolutely petrifying, because I'd been over bridges before and they didn't really bother me that much. The vision of this one bridge was absolutely terrifying.
Right.
And as we crossed it, I was just completely frozen. But it could be past life. It's interesting to think it was, and at the same time, what the hell's the point?
Yeah.
What good did it do me? We still had to cross the freaking bridge.
Well, phobias himself. I mean, it's a proven fact. You can't blame everything on reincarnation. Phobias, people who have psychological disorders and things like that, a lot of them tend to blame reincarnation for their problems. They'll say, no, well, this is not really me. I was born, 100 years ago, and that's me talking now. People do that. And that's why it's hard sometimes to filter out the truth from the BS
Crap
with this stuff, because there are people that just want to create fantasies and say things, that mean nothing to anybody, because they really weren't, they may have been reincarnated, but they don't know that.
Right. People who dig in on the idea that they know for sure.
Right.
That's always bothered me. But then most of the people that I know that ever dug in that deep were truly chronically mentally ill people. And I had an uncle that was that way, and one of his best friends used to talk about his son that lived on another planet. And I was like, all right, that's insane, but why not?
It's quite common. Psychological disorders almost go hand in hand with certain aspects of people claiming to be reincarnated. I'm not saying it's the usual, because it's not,
right,
but it does happen.
But to claim that it for sure,
No, you don't.
Yeah, you don't. So
There's no
when
way.
if you're standing that deep, where you probably pass a lie detector test saying, yeah, I was a king of Egypt 300 years ago, chances are there's probably some chemical imbalance, mental illness, whatever you want to call it. just saying, it doesn't make them bad people. Just they're just
Not
whatever.
to mention the fact that there's nobody still around that could disprove that.
Right.
I know, right? They'll be
Right.
like, you look different. Well, of course I look different, jackass. But well, then what about your doppelganger that I met?
Right.
Oh, you did live 100 years ago. Well, why don't I remember that?
So Christine says, do you believe that people can be connected in this life and they were connected in a past life?
Yeah.
What?
That's an interesting
I'm not sure what
question.
you mean. I mean, if you mean relationship wise, like
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
in other words, in the past life you were related to somebody.
Like my wife and I were also in a past life. We also had an interaction.
Right. That's what she's asking.
And
Yes,
then
it can
and
happen.
depending on your religion or your point of religion, let me know if I'm stepping on anybody's toes. But depending on your point of view, some believe that sex is continual, meaning that you're always a man or you're always a woman. So you might have been married in a previous life if you're married in this life. And there are others that believe that you can shift beyond those, so that a man who's a man in this life might have been a woman in a previous life, and you may encounter the same soul in a different form, meaning a different sex. Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true.
It gets deep and it gets weird.
A lot of people will go back to Buddhist and Hinduism.
Mhm.
There's a train of thought that it's very possible that you can come back as the opposite of what you were when you passed away.
Because that would be the full experience of human existence.
I guess I was a drag queen then.
You're still a drag queen, Joe. It's a very different
I
thing.
just can't get that picture out. I should have put that picture on there.
Well,
Well, I just can't get it out of my mind now.
The beauty of it is in reincarnation, being that we are different bodies and different
Well, I can,
forms, completely different people. So yeah, the idea that we look the same in any way, shape, or form is theoretical, but doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Not very utilitarian in the whole idea.
We'll get to Genghis Khan's question in a minute. Bring up Joey's screen, because the whole conversation just got me thinking of that picture.
Good God.
Go full screen with it.
All right, hold on. What in the?
isn't that uncanny?
What is that?
That is Joey with tits. That's
A wonderful outfit.
Oh my God. Why? Where's that from?
It was from the
Scrapbook.
from the thumbnail for this episode.
Scrapbook.
That's why I said I thought I was at least a lesbian back then,
Did you
but
catch that?
now it turns out I was just a drag queen.
Is that, you photoshopped
if I
your
was-
face on that, right?
He did.
Okay.
I think I found that in some, old
Encyclopedia.
periodical that was at the library.
Just
I don't know.
yuck.
Oh my God.
Well, the physicalities in reincarnation are not that common. In other words,
Right.
like it's rarely that somebody will be picked out and look like somebody they claim to be in the last
Right.
life. That doesn't
That's-
happen very often.
Yeah, that would be the bigger stretch. To me, that's the bigger stretch. The idea that somehow you came back looking like the same person
Exactly.
or
Yeah, I
in
think
the same form, same career and stuff like that. That always seemed to go against the idea of incarnation and the total human experience.
Yeah, I think for the theme of our series here, we decided that, last week was our doppelgangers. So that is those that look alike,
like you.
but are nothing alike. I don't know, as far as personalities. But,
Well, and that's from my
but for,
understanding, there's no utility in coming back looking the same.
right. And so that's what I'm saying with reincarnation. You could be the same person coming back, but you're not going to look anything like you did in your past life.
Right.
So maybe that was your doppelganger.
So that was my doppelganger,
There
I
you
guess. Yeah. So next week when we get into
Or
the
it could
clones,
be your
then,
clone.
then it's going to be a whole
Then
different
you'll be all
ballgame.
right. Then
Yeah, that'd be
you'll
fine.
be right on feet then.
Yuck.
So
So
Sylvia
Genghis
says-
Khan brings up a good point. Maybe it's primal to be cautious of heights or just being super aware that you're in a situation that has potential to harm or kill you.
I would
That's-
agree with that.
I would agree with that
that's a
too.
great point.
That's
Great
a good point.
In fact, I don't know too many people that aren't afraid of height.
Yeah.
Well, being able to control your fear, I think, because I think ultimately nobody wants to fall. There's nobody's like, man, I really hope I fall off this building and die. Even the people that get the thrill out of falling off buildings or jumping off buildings, their intentions to live. So there should be I think a basic human need to not die.
That's an interesting point. Your possible connect to the reincarnation could be how fight or flight isn't learned. So triggers of either could be, I think is that coached into our life?
I like couched.
Like couched. Could be. Force or soul. Could be.
Is that a nurture or nature question? Or is that what we're talking about?
Kind of, I guess. I mean,
Is
or is it a learned thing
says
from
how
a past life?
fight or flight isn't learned, so triggers of either. And see, and this is I think this is another example of where you can argue all day about whether it's previous life experience, soul experience, or just genetic coding.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's a very real possibility that most of that stuff just comes from the fact that it's built into our DNA, and nobody has that answer yet either.
No.
It's so freaking complex, it gets so deep. It's like, but we know that it's in our genetic code. Men are generally a certain way, and you can see it in their DNA. Women are generally a certain way, and you can see it in their DNA. We can decode that to a certain level, and I'm sure it goes even deeper. If you get reincarnated as a human, do you look? Oh yeah,
yes, that's what we were saying.
We covered that already.
Reincarnation, you're not going to look like
she knows that.
Right before. So
you're right.
It was an earlier question before we covered it. So
I know. Just making sure that we saw it. Look at that.
Mm-hmm. Trying to be nice.
You matter. You all matter. We
say hi to Denise. Denise just joined us.
Denise.
Hello, Denise.
Sylvia,
Hi,
you're beautiful. Why does she think you're beautiful? Oh, because of the horrible picture you put up. That's right.
So I had another question for Dan.
Sure.
I do. Because a lot of the stories that I've read or seen where children had these recollections of their past life. Most of them that I saw, that the kids actually grew out of it.
That's correct.
And end up just living normal lives and had never brought up their past life
After
again.
a certain age. Yes, that's correct.
So that's what it is.
Yes, it is correct. They have very vivid memories when they're very young, and they can recall amazing things. Amazing, like you talked about the kid with the airplanes and
right.
knowing stuff he should have never known. That's not uncommon. Very young kids, young children have incredible memory when it comes to that stuff. When they get to be in their teens, even up to their 20s, it starts going away, and eventually, this is only my theory. I didn't read about this. Okay, my theory is there's a comfort level that they want to have. They want to get away from it. So eventually, they just eliminate it from their mind.
Well, it's probably because when they're starting out their life, that's the life they remember, and as they age, they develop their own lives. And
actually, one of my first case I'm going to talk about. This is what they concluded with this girl, that it really wasn't a reincarnation. It was her bringing back memories of her early childhood, and they even went as far as proving it. So, I think, again, I think it's all in how you want to perceive what's going on. I mean, does a 3-year-old know how to fly a plane?
No.
I'd be kind of scared to fly with one, but
he might be able to tell you how to fly a plane.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Knowing
that's what's scary about it. I mean, this is very real stuff that happened, and you ask yourself, how could that be a young child? I mean, they don't even know how to walk, like I say, heaven don't even know how to walk right yet, and they're not toilet trained, and yet they're talking about building buildings or
right.
Whatever they're doing, and it's just incredible. But that's from those early remembrances from the past life, and as they get older, they want to get rid of it. They just don't want to deal with it anymore. That's kind of like in my book. This young teenage 15-year-old boy, he's struggling with this, and he wants to get rid of it. So I can understand that. So to answer your question, I believe thoroughly as they get older, they lose memory. On purpose, maybe. I don't know.
Or they just replace it with new life's experiences, right?
Exactly.
Well, do you think it's what we talk about in the paranormal side of things too, is children that are gifted that can actually communicate with spirits? There are a lot of parents that, like we always say, it's your imagination, just forget about it. I mean, I'm sure some of that comes to play where, you have these parents that don't look into why their children are having nightmares about dying in a plane crash at 2 years old. They're just kind of brushing it off and trying to make them forget about it. I mean, I'm sure that's a big part of it too, but I don't know.
Did you read my book?
No. I read that. Well, I won't say it.
Okay.
Anyway, do you want to get into a couple of your stories? Because I know you got a lot to talk about.
An hour and a half show?
Yeah, we can go 2 hours. We're good.
Whatever.
We got beer. We're good.
Okay.
Is there more beer?
Hey, Vinny. Oh, you're out already?
I'll
Holy
Well, almost.
crap.
Well, I'll drink Jack's.
Yeah, you can have mine. I forgot my straw.
He
Anyway.
doesn't mind giving you his beer.
No, I'm a very giving person.
Yeah, I have like 4 cases that I just want to talk a little bit about. I'm not going to go into as deep as I would have liked to, but you have to forgive me. I'm going to have to refer to my notes here a little because my mind is not as sharp as
Nobody
yours.
knew you had notes, man. You didn't have to say it.
That's all right. I'm telling you
Okay,
anyway.
cool.
But I'll go through these 4 cases, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about celebrities that, famous people that really believe truly that they've been reincarnated. And some of their documentation makes you wonder. And then we'll get on to my books at the end.
Okay.
So the first case I'm going to talk about, this may be a case that some people are familiar with. It's been made into a movie. There was a book written about it. It's this case of, it happened in 1952 to a housewife named Virginia Ty from Pueblo, Colorado. She went under hypnosis. And while she was under there, she declared that she had a past life dating back to the 19th century. And she claimed to be the reincarnation of an Irish woman named Bridie Murphy. She said that Murphy was born and raised in Cork Island, which, by the way, Keith, your ancestors from your Irish side, that's where they come from, County Cork. And they said that she spoke in an Irish accent, or Irish brogue, if you want to say. She sang Irish songs, and she told Irish stories, always as Bridie Murphy while she was under hypnosis.
Huh.
She was always Bridie Murphy. She gave her date of birth as 1798 and described her childhood in a Protestant family in the city of Cork. Virginia reflected on Bridie's life from the age of 8 while Bridie was living in a house in Cork. She also spoke of a fall that caused Bridie's death and of watching her own funeral, describing the tombstone and the state of being in life after death. In other words, she saw what life was about after dying.
Right.
All under hypnosis. To my knowledge, no one has ever found the grave in Ireland of the woman known as Bridie Murphy. And some would say there were many Murphys in Ireland back then, so record keeping was not the greatest. So that might be the reason. But after she claimed all of this, she went public with this. Of course, there was a lot of naysayers and doubters that said, no, this lady is, for the birds. So a group of reporters went over to Ireland to investigate the case and this Bridie Murphy. And they found mostly everything she said was inaccurate. There was something she was right about. And she had never been, this woman, Virginia, I should have said that before. She's never been out of the country, much less ever go to Ireland. So she knew nothing about it. But she described certain buildings that were there at the time and then certain buildings that had not been built yet that were there at the time. So it was confusing to the reporters. And they kind of said, no. She did a little reading on this stuff, but she was never here in this life or another life. Mm-hmm. And so basically, they said the facts kind of were like too wishy-washy to even consider, pursuing any further. And so she was sort of like it was a disclaimer for everybody. But they still made a movie about it called The Search of Bridie Murphy. And they wrote a book called The Search of Bridie Murphy. In fact, the gentleman that hypnotized her wrote the book. So, like I said, there was no record of any of the events that she really talked about, like her birth and death, no records of it. So it kind of like put a sour note on everybody. But they did a couple of reporters went a little bit deeper and they went back to Virginia's own childhood. And they found out that there was a young woman who was very close to Virginia growing up. And she was of Irish descent and she had an Irish brogue. And she was very similar to the person that Virginia was describing as Bridie Murphy. So that's the conclusion. They believe, and Jack may know this word, cryptomnesia. It's an explanation for this case. Cryptomnesia occurs when a forgotten memory returns without it being recognized as such by the subject, who believes it's something new and original. So that's what we're talking about with children. It's pretty much the same thing. This cryptomnesia. I may not even pronounce it right. Forgive me if I'm not. But this is what happens with young people. It's memories that they already have, but as they move on, they think it's new, and it's not. You know, and I'm not so sure if I buy that or not, but that's their explanation. And so anyway, as far as Virginia goes, she wanted to believe this, but she started doubting her own mind about this. But as she got older, she says, I want to believe it because it means more to me than knowing that there's nothing after this. So I want to believe it. I want to believe it was Freddie Murphy. She died in Denver in 1995. But ironically, she could only speak Gaelic and talk about old Irish history once she was asleep. She couldn't do it when she was awake.
That is interesting.
Nobody ever heard her say anything like that while she was awake.
Now, what's to say in her past life that she was one of those that liked to exaggerate a lot? You know,
In her past life?
in her past life,
She was only 8 years old.
in her past life.
No, that's when she started talking.
That's what she
about
started
it.
back. But in her,
was-
her past
When did
life
she
in
die?
Ireland.
When did she die in her past life?
68 years old.
Oh, well, shit.
Right.
Never mind.
Yeah. So I mean, she lived a whole 68 years, and she exaggerated about things a lot, which some people do.
Right.
You know,
But how would that
and they
tie
start
with-
believing. Well, if you start believing it yourself, you know, as that person. So if you're the
Oh, I see.
reincarnate
I
of
see.
that
You're
person,
going to do the same thing.
it could be the same thing. You know, you're remembering these exaggerations that you had of yourself.
It's possible.
You know, I don't know.
So-
That's just
That's out there. It's not the furthest, you know, I mean, it's possible.
So in saying that, are you saying that she was reincarnated?
No, she wasn't. She was full of crap.
Or you think she just
That's
No, I'm
story.
just saying if she was reincarnated, it could be an idea of why she had these ideas of her past life
Right.
that were,
Meh.
you know, they weren't quite factual, but they
Yeah,
were in her own mind because she exaggerated things, and she
Nah, I like
you know,
that. I get it.
I'm on with Jack on this one. I find this hard to believe.
Yeah, it sounds like
I didn't do that purposely to make the first one a bad one. I mean,
It's just it's the way the story was.
it's the most popular one. I mean,
The
I
only
don't-
verifiable facts are things you can find out from books. Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds pretty
yeah,
sound like bullshit to
exactly.
me.
But the thing is that the book is interesting to read anyway. It's called The Search of Freddie Murphy by author Maury Bernstein.
He's a liar.
I just like to make things entertaining.
Even if you pull it all apart, it's still interesting to read.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. A lot of these real deep cases where people consider stuff that, you know, I'm not gonna say her name, but we all know what I'm talking about. Sybil. Anyway, there's a lot of case studies of people
Yeah.
that do amazing things that like to go that deep. That like under hypnosis, you have a Gaelic accent. Where the hell does that come from? 'Cause,
Right.
you know, like the guy mentioned the brain trauma.
Right.
People can have brain trauma trigger a freaking accent. How do you have an accent from a place you're never from? Well, I don't know. There's so much in our brains that
You don't know.
You have no
You know,
idea.
their
Where's it
explanation
coming
was that she knew this Irish girl when she was young,
right.
and she had a big Irish.
She had a
brogue.
babysitter and I watched
exactly.
a cartoon show. And
So she mimicked her. You know, I don't know. Again, there's also a movie that was made in 1956, starring Teresa Wright. It's called The Search of Freddie Murphy. I don't know if you can catch that on Netflix or not. but
probably.
if you can, I watch it because I saw it many years ago, and it was pretty interesting. The names have changed, of course, but
Yeah, to protect the innocent.
exactly.
Protect the people that nobody
Or the
freaking knows.
bullshitter.
All those
Just-
people are full of, you know what.
What's
Yeah.
what's great is like, how about you just don't tell us that, and we'll just assume.
Anyway, I wanted to talk about a couple of other books you can read or movies you can see. The Reincarnation of Peter Proud, starring Jennifer O'Neill and Margot Kidder. That's an interesting story about reincarnation. It's really weird. It's fictional, but it's based on an event, and it's really very weird. So if you get a chance, The Reincarnation of Peter Proud, and also this one I'm sure everybody's seen, Audrey Rose, starring Anthony Hopkins.
Remember the name?
Yeah, I remember the
Yeah.
name. I don't think I've ever seen
That's a
it.
scary
Yeah.
movie. It's very well done. Well, he's a terrific actor anyway, but
Yeah.
it's very well done.
That would
and-
be Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Sorry, Anthony, you're right.
Yeah,
I
okay.
apologize, sir.
How dare
That's
you.
right. But
It looks like Socrates.
Yeah.
it's a movie you should try to catch. It really is. It's a movie you should try to catch.
Aubrey Rose.
It'll scare the hell out of you. It really,
Mhm.
it'll make you wonder.
I did notice since you started reading that story, the comments just stopped. So everybody must be.
Let's hope they're not bored for
enthralled.
that. Anyway, I'm going to talk about a couple other cases that I believe are more to Jack's liking.
What are you trying to say?
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Anyway, Gus Taylor began to recount memories of his own grandfather, whose name was Augie, when he was 18 months old. Thinking he was just a kid being a kid, like you just said, his father brushed it off. But several years later, when the family was looking at old photos of the grandparents, Gus was able to pick out his grandfather and the grandfather's first car, even though he had never seen either. Even more shocking, he remembered that that Augie, his sister, was murdered. That Augie's sister was murdered. Something no one had ever mentioned to him or around him.
Huh.
So why did that happen?
Why'd he bring it up?
Well, this one's shaping up to be more authentic.
I don't know about that. Why did he bring it up?
Why did who bring it up?
The kid just went, hey, I remember when Augie got murdered. Augie's sister got murdered.
I can't tell you that.
He got whacked.
I wasn't there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so details in these kinds of situations.
But this was later on. This wasn't when he was 18 months old.
Right. So
So
later
I
on in
don't-
life, he
I
out of
don't
the blue.
know why that happened, but as I agree with Joey, this is more viable to me than the first one because he has information he should know. He's never saw his grandfather. He never saw his grandfather's first car. How could he pick those two things out?
Who knows? But
What?
I mean,
Did somebody cheat and give him the answers?
That's
I guess
what
that's possible.
that's what I think. Because you don't know. No one's there for the totality of his life. How is it possible? Is it
don't.
impossible?
You
that
can't be accountable for
never got
every-
mentioned
No, you can't
in
be
his life that he didn't
accountable
know
for
that his dad, his grandfather owned a
Absolutely-
Dodge Dart.
Absolutely not.
You know what I mean? He goes, hey, look at this grandpa's Dart. They'll go, holy crap, how did he know? Yeah, I don't know.
Again,
Yeah.
Who shows pictures to 18-month-olds, though?
So he was 18 months old when he was picking out the car.
no. When he was 18 months old, he was talking about
Oh, get closer to the
Here
mic.
goes the mic.
when he was 18 months old. He was. Let me get this straight again.
Yeah.
Now that Jack broke my chops.
hey, you gotta throw it out there. What's going on?
Several years later, when they looked at the photos, okay, of his grandparents and their home after the grandmother's funeral. All right, so Gus was able to pick out the grandfather and the grandfather's first car, even though he had never seen either.
Okay.
So I don't know. You could believe it or not.
Yeah.
Any one of these stories you could tear apart.
Yeah, I'm ripping it apart.
Anyone.
Screw that guy.
The point I'm trying to make is that there's a lot of cases out there.
Absolutely. No, see, the ones that I would love to hear, and I don't know if they exist, is the ones where, somebody talks about, when their past life in Abu Dhabi and they know their birth year and their house they grew up in, and then that shit's verifiable, which I don't think that exists.
I've seen stories.
Yeah, there's
No,
stories out
That's
there
what
like
I'm
that.
talking
There
about.
are
Yeah.
stories out there.
And
like
that to me is like a holy crap that I can't
Yeah,
explain.
I know
All the
a
rest
kid
of the stuff is very circumstantial and can be ripped apart.
Well, anything can be ripped
Give me a
apart.
good one, Dan. Give me a good one.
Even the ones with dates on them could be ripped apart.
But if somebody who is at 5 years old says, yeah, I was born in whatever Massachusetts, and the house I grew up in was orange and had the address this on it and this and this and this, and they can walk over to that address and see that house and it's that color and the deed was owned by who they said it was and the names of those people, there's birth certificates and birth records. That to me is like, okay, there's nothing other than it came out of the ether.
You're making a good point, but again, like with the first case with Freddie Murphy, that's one of the reasons why they didn't believe her, because she
it was
mentioned
unverifiable.
buildings.
Yeah.
No, she mentioned buildings and places that didn't exist
Right.
and never did exist. So,
That's what
or
I'm-
she mentioned buildings that existed, 30 years or 40 years after the woman died.
Right.
Right.
So all of this together,
It makes it seem like bullcrap.
exactly.
And I'm saying I want to see a case where it's not the case. I want to see a
Well,
case where they can verify that stuff. 'Cause
I got
don't
two
think-
more here.
Let's do it.
They have nothing with addresses on them. So
Ah, damn.
Let's I want to go to Christine's question real quick.
Oh.
Do you think it'd be a good idea for someone to go under hypnosis to find out who they were in a past life? And that was kind of something I wanted to ask you, Jack, is, you talked about the reincarnation portion of it. Have you ever thought about doing what do you call that? Like past life regression? Is
Yeah,
that's called
so-
when you're going to.
So here's the thing that to me all falls under the same idea of, if you want to believe it, you're going to believe it. If you go under hypnosis, first, let's be clear, you can't be hypnotized unless you want to be hypnotized. Nobody can hypnotize somebody who doesn't want to be hypnotized. So
Okay.
it's just allowing your mind to go into a deeper state of relaxation or whatever concentration you want to call it, to possibly access subconscious. Who the hell knows? But you have to be susceptible first and foremost. So once you're susceptible to it, then what your brain starts thinking and coming up with at that point, who the hell knows where it's coming from? And this is where you can actually get criminologists that get all sorts of false accusations and false memories out of people because they want to believe something. And we don't know where those things manifest in your brain. Are they memories? Are you just making shit up? Who knows? But in hypnosis, in your subconscious state or whatever, you can make those things real to a degree that nobody can refute, because they can say, no, you're full of crap. You go, no, it's in here. Trust me. I felt it. I believe it. Beliefs. So hypnotizing yourself to find out about your past lives. I'm going to say, if you're interested in doing that, you will likely be able to be hypnotized, and you will very likely have some experience that you very well may attribute to a past life. Who the hell knows if it's real or not?
Right.
But if you have that belief and you want it, you'll probably get it.
I'm not a big believer in hypnosis, and that's why I don't even mention it in my next books that's coming out. I'm not a big believer in it. I'm not saying it's not true. The way Jack,
I'll say it's not true.
Just the way Jack described it, I think a lot has to do with your own set,
You
your own
have to
mindset.
be. Yeah, nobody.
And also the person who's doing it, they have a way of manipulating your mind.
It's what it is. It's a
Absolutely.
manipulation fully.
And so I don't buy it at all. So, it doesn't
Yeah, I
impress me.
think a lot of fathers have been accused by daughters of horrible things that never happened
Absolutely.
through hypnosis, and I think it's a terrible thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like I said, a lot of people they put ideas in your brain while you're under, and suggestion is everything. I mean, oh yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, I remember that. Now. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting on to the next one.
Next one.
Ever since he was a small child, Edward Austrian had an extreme fear of dark, damp weather. He often became ill with throat problems, often referring to it oddly as a shot. At 4, Edward had developed a cyst in his throat that needed to be removed surgically. Immediately following his tonsil removal, he began to recount to his mother a previous life as a soldier named James. Now we're talking about a 4-year-old there. Okay. James was fighting in World War I when he was shot in the throat and killed. After recounting the story, Edward's cyst healed and inexplicably went away, even though doctors predicted it could become a life-threatening situation. Why did that happen?
Because he was a soldier in World War I.
Yep. Or you remember that war, Jack?
Or even better, he manifested that idea in his own mind and created a scenario to fight that cyst through his own body chemistry. Because there's been visualization. It's a big part of these kind of same ideas, thought streams. It's like children visualizing soldiers and things attacking cancerous cells, attacking tumors, and tumors miraculously go away. And so the power of the mind is powerful. So his dream of being shot in this cyst could have manifested in it going away and his body getting rid of it.
Oh, yeah, sometimes we can heal ourselves.
Bam.
Mind over matter, isn't that
That's what we're talking about.
I mean, it's a very strong likelihood that helped.
Mic drop.
I mean, definitely. But I want to know is the part about the fact that he thought he was a soldier for the First World War,
right?
And he used the word "shot" when they said his throat hurt,
right?
And then he comes around and says that they investigate the fact that the gentleman in question, named James, was shot in the throat and killed.
Oh, so they did verify there was a soldier.
Yeah.
Did they have his last name and his ID?
I thought I read that there, but I must have missed that. I apologize.
You did read it there. I was just playing devil's advocate because it's fun.
Just being a pain in the ass.
That's what I do, buddy.
Smart
ass.
Okay. Then the last one I have before we go to the famous people.
Right out.
James Leninger was a normal child by all appearances, save for one. He seemed to have an incredible obsession with planes, far more than any normal child. This kind of plays into what you were saying before, Keith. He talked about them constantly and began to describe another life as a fighter pilot. Puzzled, his parents asked him more questions until eventually lots of strange and precise details began to emerge. The pilot's name was James N. Houston Jr. The place he was shot down was Iwo Jima. That was during the Second World War in the Pacific Island, very bloody. And even the name of the aircraft carrier that James claimed to have taken off from, it was called the Natoma. Using the ship as a reference point, his parents began to investigate. Incredibly, all the facts, including the name of the pilot and his death in Iwo Jima, checked out.
Wow.
That's bitching.
Even more incredible, James met his co-pilots and remembered their names.
Oh, come on now. That's
what
freaking awesome.
I'm reading it.
Get a
That's
grip.
crazy.
He even met his previous sister and remembered incredible details no one else could have known.
Wow.
That's cool.
Go ahead, Jack.
There's a
Yeah.
mic drop
I
right
don't,
there.
I don't want to tear it apart. I think that's
He
beautiful.
did the mic drop a little too soon.
Yeah.
To me, that's, no. Hey, I can tear apart shit that can be torn apart. That to me, I have no answer for. To me, that's as solid as it gets.
That's why I saved it for last.
It's completely undeniable.
Yep.
As far, to me, that's undeniable. If he knows details about his sister that he's never met before and all that other stuff, he's either incredibly psychic to a degree that has no utility, because why the hell would he want to think he's somebody else?
Right.
Or he is that. And again, I don't know what the utility is in that. Why can he do that and other people can't? I don't know. But that's a beautiful thing. I would love to have something that verifiable, a thought or a feeling that was so concrete to know that, yeah, we've been here before and we'll be here again. Like, to me, that's beautiful.
Yeah, to me, that's why I saved that for last, because I thought it was the most
Credible.
Oh, 100%,
credible
without a doubt.
and most interesting of all of them.
Yeah,
So,
to be able to verify the people's existence and to visit somebody who was a contemporary of that previous life that's like.
and how they verified it is they went to Washington D.C. and looked up in the war records the information they needed, and they got help from the War Department, and that's where they found all the information.
That's cool.
So it was, I mean, cool but scary.
See, and that to me, it's not. There's nothing scary about that. To me, that's affirming and that's beautiful. I mean, that would be. I couldn't ask for anything more.
Yeah.
Like, how wonderful is that?
Well, I guess I used the wrong word. Scary is the right word, because you're dealing with a kid now that you know for a fact, based on what you've learned, this is not his first time around.
Right.
Well, or you could say it's disturbing if it's affecting your belief system.
Yeah,
True.
You
Yeah.
know,
That's
true.
not. I could see
No.
that, but that's why to me it's beautiful, because it affirms my belief system.
Mhm.
Right.
It makes you go, I'm not just a nut job. It's real. You know. No, because seriously, that's the kind of stuff that happens. Oh,
Yep.
shit! I touched the keyboard.
Nope, you're good.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, that was a good story to save.
Anyway, so let's move on to the famous celebrities
Celebrity time.
Let's do it.
that believe they were reincarnated. I like that. That's good. Anyway, the first one I want to talk about is General George S. Patton. I'm sure most of you have heard his name if you don't know anything about him.
Yep.
He was a World War II general who was a brilliant military strategist. He's credited with turning the war in our favor in North Africa during the Second World War, when he fought against General Rommel of the German army. He's credited with helping to defeat the Germans in France and in Germany. So he was an amazing man. He was a weirdo in many ways, and that might fall into place here when we talk about what he thinks he was. But he's definitely a strange guy, but a brilliant man. So I wanted to bring that out, that he's not a lunatic in the sense of his intelligence. He's highly intelligent, but I'll let you decide when I tell you what he thinks he was.
Bruce Willis.
He believes he was a soldier of Alexander the Great, who fought at the siege of Tyre. He also believed he was a prehistoric mammoth hunter. I don't even know what the hell that means. He further believes he was a Roman legionnaire under Julius Caesar,
Clearly not in that order.
an English knight during the 100 Years' War. And here's the cream. He believes he was Hannibal, the leader of the general of the Carthaginians.
Oh, good. Not from Silence of the Lambs.
No, no.
Okay, that's good.
He was the famous leader of the Carthaginian army that defeated Rome in a big battle once.
Huh.
So this was General George Patton. Firmly believe he used to walk the battlefields and kind of go into a daze. And people would say, "What are you doing, General?" And he says, "I see myself here 400 years ago." Whatever the case. I don't know. I can't quote that, but he did that all. He was absolutely fascinated with.
Batshit crazy.
Yeah, maybe so.
This is where my elephants were, and I rode them into there.
what?
The
Yeah.
mammoth.
You might be.
No, the Hannibal was the elephant guy, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Okay.
He took him over the Alps. Yeah.
Yeah.
But my point is, I say that he's not a dummy. He's not one of these people that, you say, well,
Some
just
backwoods idiot.
but he definitely is questionable with what he says. I understand that, but he firmly believed every bit. He got interviewed several times, and he was adamant about it. I don't
So
care.
you were handling.
I don't care what you think. I know what I was.
Right.
Okay, whatever.
Well, I know the timeline doesn't work with it, but I bet George C. Scott was his, was reincarnated from Patton because he did such a great
I
job.
think George C. Scott would have said the same thing Patton said. You don't believe me? I don't give a shit. I know what
Yeah,
I was.
exactly.
But anyway, let's talk about Sylvester Stallone.
Oh boy.
Everybody knows him, right? All right.
Good old
First of
slide.
all, he was at a Hollywood party once, and they were talking about history, and they brought up the subject of the French Revolution. Okay, so he was very quiet, and somebody asked him, what's wrong? He goes, I know all about the French Revolution. I was executed on a guillotine. And they go, what?
The party got quiet.
Exactly. I was executed on a guillotine. He said, I know what it feels like to get your head chopped off.
Huh?
Eight.
So people didn't know what to
Korean.
say, but they said that he actually meant it. He believed it.
Don't laugh at me.
Then he said, that's not the only. He says that's not the only time I was around. He says I was a prize fighter in the 1930s, and I was killed in the ring by a knockout punch. And that has to do with why he wrote Rocky. I don't know, but these are two things. These are two things that he constantly talked about his entire life, and he still talks about it today.
Interesting.
So I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know what to say.
What can he? There's no refuting it. If you believe,
I wouldn't argue with Sylvester
I would.
Stallone.
He's bullshit.
But here's the one that blew,
Not face to face.
Here's the one that blew my mind. Phil Collins, the musician,
Oh,
which
yeah.
you guys love. You know him.
Oh,
right?
Phil
Def
Collins.
Leppard, Phil Collins, or Genesis? Phil Collins?
Genesis.
Okay.
Genesis. Right. He was he
That's
believes
Colin from
Whatever.
Def Leppard.
he
Whatever.
No S.
believes that he was a defender of the Alamo back in 1836? I think 1836.
Dying to be an American.
Right. He was consumed with the idea that he was part of the Alamo and the Texas Brigade that defended it. He had a private collection like nobody from artifacts that was found at the Alamo. He related to the battle constantly. He still does. As a kid, he used to play with toy soldiers and reenact the battle. And his mother used to watch him sometimes. And he used to try burning the plastic soldiers after the battle was over. Not the Mexican soldiers, the Texas soldiers. And his mother used to go, why are you doing that? He goes,
He was
I don't
Santa
know.
Ana, huh?
He doesn't know. He didn't know at the time. He didn't know. But then when he found out, when he got older and he investigated the true battle and everything, he
Mhm.
found out that Santa Ana ordered the cremation, the burning of all the bodies of the Texas defenders.
Wow.
I thought he always looked at his mom and say, "Oh, remember the Alamo."
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But here's the part that everybody will probably be interested in. He has a collection of photographs taken at the Alamo. Now, I'm not clear when they were taken. Obviously, they weren't taken in 1836, but I'm not clear when they were taken. But in the pictures, it shows a glowing orbs in the photographs, and we all know what that means. Especially everybody on paranormal there knows what that means. And he was just amazed with the entire process of the Alamo and what happened there. And he believes that there are spirits. There's a place for all you guys to go check out.
Oh, I'd love to go there.
We should.
They-
Yeah.
Because I want to go to the basement and find Pee Wee Herman's bike.
I don't know about that. But anyway,
Oh my!
he believes that it's definitely got spirits roaming around there. And he also believes that he definitely was part of that life.
Interesting.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Celebrities or wackos?
Seriously.
Yeah, they could be. Now, Shirley MacLaine, does everybody know
Oh, I was
Shirley
gonna.
MacLaine?
I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I knew you were. That's why I
Yeah,
saved it for
baby.
last.
Shirley.
Yeah.
I was a little girl.
She believes that she's been reincarnated many times.
Well, because if you're
Among her past lives, she believes she was a Moorish peasant girl who had sexual relationships with Charlemagne. Charlemagne.
repeat that whole sentence one more time, just so everybody heard.
Among her past lives, she believes she was a Moorish peasant girl who had a sexual relationship with Charlemagne.
Oh my gosh!
I wasn't there, so I don't know.
Yeah,
but
Right.
that's what she said.
If only there was video.
She also believes she lived in on the lost continent of Lemuria thousands of years ago. I never heard of that
I was
place.
hoping you were going to say Atlantis, but
Oh, did anybody ever hear of Lemuria?
No.
I never
heard
did
Lemuria.
either, so I don't know about that. And I didn't have a chance today to look it up, so I'm not sure. But anyway, she believes she lived in that time period.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
these are only a few of them, the famous people that really believe they've been reincarnated. You can go through a whole bunch of them.
Shirley MacLaine.
Yeah, if you're still skeptical, me too. I don't rule out reincarnation, but some of this stuff I don't buy.
Sounds like a bunch of hocus pocus Moby Joey.
But the thing is that they believe it, and
Oh, yeah.
that makes it real to them.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I can attest to firsthand. The belief comes from the same need that faith comes from, in that it just makes life palatable. And, you know, that idea that there's more than one and there's more than one chance, and all that stuff just made all the injustice of the world make sense to me when I was younger. Because when I was younger and I see all these things, horrible things happen, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. In a world that's supposedly created by an energy or God that's loving and cares to any degree, why'd you let this happen? Well, you don't, unless, of course, it's not as finite as a single life for a single human. And it started to make sense to me, and I was like, okay, I can deal with a lot more of this, you know.
Mm-hmm. No,
So
you're right. You're right.
That's where I'm coming from.
We did forget to bring up a picture during your story.
We
So
didn't get to
who was
fist
that?
fight,
Of?
though.
That was,
Yeah, that's a
Brady Murphy.
Virginia
Brady
guy
Murphy.
who thought she was Brady
Oh,
Murphy.
it's Brady Murphy.
there you go.
Oh, it's good. I got some beautiful me.
You're a little late on that one.
I know. I
Okay.
just
Thanks for playing, Keith.
Yeah, you know.
Thanks for playing.
You're the controller.
Spent too much time on the Blarney Stone.
I didn't even know the pictures were there available. That was what it showed. Show the book.
So let's talk about the books.
Let's do it.
We'll get to that.
Talk about the old book first.
All right. Well, as we said, Twice Upon a Time was written and published in 2019.
Booyah.
And I told you the idea of the story came from a thought I had in my mind that I couldn't shake, and I just kept building on it. And when I spoke to my co-author about it, he wanted nothing to do with it because, as I said, we never wrote any kind of paranormal stuff. I let my wife know about it. I explained the story to her, and she thought it was a great story. And she kept asking me, "Why don't you write it? Why don't you write it?" And I said, "We don't write paranormal romance, let alone time travel and reincarnation." Well, anyway, make a long story short, she won, and we wrote it, and it came out the way I wanted it to come out. But like I say, now that I know so much more about the paranormal, I wish I would have waited till now to write it. But it's still a great story.
Do
And
they do remixes on books?
what's that?
Can you do a remix on a book?
You can, yes.
probably
but
could.
It's a little bit. It's not worth the effort.
Yeah,
It's
understood.
really not.
I believe that.
But anyway, I'll tell you a little bit about. I'm just going to give you a quick synopsis on it because I know we're running late here.
Oh, you're good.
That worked good.
It's our show. We can do what we want.
That's true.
All right. So it's about an elderly couple that reunites after some 50 some odd years after both their spouses have passed away. They had been high school sweethearts, but chose to go separate ways in life. It gets a little deeper in the story why they choose that, but I'd rather skip that right now. They had regrets, but through the help of a gifted young woman of magic, they were able to travel back in time to 1960 and try to get it right this time, which we all like to do, right? The problem is, although they were teenagers again in 1960, they also were still very much alive in the present, which made things a little complicated, especially for the soul. It complicates matters, to say the very least. Sadly, they learned the hard way. No one's destiny can be changed. I don't want to say any more about it because I'd rather you read the book if you want to read the book because it explains everything. It's a type of book you have to read cover to cover
That's not
because
tragic.
it gets deep in parts, and if you don't pay attention to what's going to, you could get lost. Events at cemeteries, who dies when, why they died, how they died. It all comes together as one story. So you have to read the book cover to cover. You can't skim it or you're going to lose something. And I'm not trying to sell the book. You do what you want. I'm just saying, if you read the
Well, I
book,
hope you're trying to sell the book.
Yeah, exactly.
not to these people are my friends. They don't have to do anything. I'm just saying.
It is a good story, though. I've read it, so it's a very good story.
And my second book is called Soul of Juby Walker. It's expected to be published hopefully in late August, if not sooner. It's a story about a 15-year-old California boy in the present time, and he's haunted by the spirit of an American soldier who died during the Second World War. The unwelcome apparitions visit this young Walker almost every night. The dreams of the soldier's past life are mostly brutal and horrifying. The American soldier has fought and died in the Philippines early in the war. Juby stands witness to these abominations, including the Bataan Death March. I don't know. Some people are familiar with that.
Yeah.
Very gruesome. Very, very bad. But what does this ghostly image really want from Juby? Juby has no choice but to find out. It's deep. What he really wants at the end, you'll never expect. But constantly through the book, this young man is constantly harassed by the spirit, and it all comes together at the end. But it gets frustrating at times in the book. But the characters are so good. Not just Juby Walker. Every character, his sister, every character in the book is so good that it helps to move the story along. But it does get complicated at the end. So anyway, to argue, like I said before, like Jack said, to argue reincarnation is true or not true, it's a futile argument because it's all about opinion and what you want to believe. It's just not worth the bother to argue about. You could debate, that's fine, but to argue, it's not worth it.
Or just jump straight to a fist fight.
There you go. You could do that. You could do that, Jack. But personally, I think it would be great to keep coming back and knowing I've been here before. Maybe there is more to deja vu than we realize.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's it, guys.
That's
right. I'm done.
Wow.
Thank you, Dan.
So both of your books are found on Amazon.
Right. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, just about all the book sites.
Twice Upon a Time is a great story. I haven't read Juby Walker yet, but hope to as soon as it comes out. But
It's published.
Yeah, so go check them out. They're available on ebook and softback, right?
They're in ebook and they're in printed books. I saw soft color, right?
Yep.
And just so Jack knows, in case I give him the book,
I
self-publish. So when you edit books, they cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Every time you try to edit a book, it costs you $2,000-$3,000. So I only edit my book a couple of times. So if you find any typos, I don't want to hear it.
Keep them to yourself.
Keep them to yourself.
You don't know how frustrating that is to an author.
I won't read with a highlighter, I promise you.
No,
Thank you.
they're good stories, so I do suggest everybody go check them out. Go on Amazon, anywhere you can find ebooks. Basically, you're selling them.
Yeah.
So
Amazon's the best because they're available all the time on there, or Barnes & Noble. But Amazon will be the first one that picks it up. There's always a delay of 2 or 3 weeks on the rest of them. I don't know why, but Amazon's very fast on it. They pick it up right away.
Even Jeff Bezos set some new history today, or created. New
I haven't
history.
watched it yet. I heard it was a success though. So
what happened?
Yeah, well, he went
launched
to
his
space.
ass into space.
Oh yeah.
Is he going to stay there? I hope.
No, he's not. He's
He came back. Yeah. So Amazon stayed open. But,
okay.
but you know what the real big thing is? This episode is probably one of my newest favorite episodes.
Already?
Wow.
This has been a blast.
Yeah, it has been a lot of fun.
Jack was a big help with that. He gave me information that I would have liked to know before the
He
show.
makes you think, doesn't he?
No, he's very well versed when he does open his mouth. Most of the time, he knows what he's talking about.
I don't want Jack's head to swell or nothing, but there are a lot of people earlier in the comments that said that Jack is awesome. So
They don't know me at all. That's why.
he should have been in this seat tonight, but hey.
Yeah, you know better than to
No,
do
but
that.
if he's that close, I might have punched him.
I told Keith, I said, we're going to have a fist fight.
Yeah.
He says, no, why?
It's good you're separated by a window and a door.
I think we were on the same page.
100%.
I think we were.
I think you pretty much were. Yeah, definitely. And I do want to bring up again, everybody out there, that we are doing Parapalooza coming up very, very soon.
When?
In September.
Oh,
September
yeah.
24th, 25th, and 26th.
And the spots are filling up.
They are. And you're actually going to be on there. You're going to.
I am?
You got.
Didn't you know?
You signed up.
I did.
So
I think Lindsay signed me up.
no, I signed you.
Oh,
up,
you signed me up?
Same thing.
So I think you're going to be talking about reincarnation again, right? And
Probably.
talking about
Yeah,
your
I'll
books.
get some more cases done and, get some stuff for Jack. I'm going to have Jack as a guest.
There you go. You should. I think you should.
There you
I will.
Go panel.
I'm going to bring him on.
We can talk endlessly about nothing.
That's exactly.
The fact that you chose Sunday the last time slot, but hey, it's okay.
That sounds like
Well, that's no good.
No, it's good.
No,
That's
it'll
my
go into
wheelhouse.
overtime.
They're going overtime. Exactly.
That's my wheelhouse.
Yeah, we'll be here. So,
Speak on ending.
so yeah, if you're interested in being a part of Parapalooza, go check us out on that link I left, a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I
should've
guess it
put
has
it
been a
back up
couple
there.
Way to
years.
mail it in, buddy. Way to mail
Yeah,
it
just-
in.
yeah, right.
If only we had a banner or something.
You know what? I didn't even think to put it on there tonight. But hey.
Jackwad.
It's
Okay.
there somewhere.
You can email us at thetruthaboutbeer@gmail.com if you're interested in being on the show, and I can put you on the time slot. We are doing it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you're interested in the time slot, and we're still looking for a host.
Wait.
What?
No, that will be that'll be
It'll
mountain.
be mountain time at that time. Huh?
That'll be mountain.
No, because October changes, not September. We don't
Oh,
change
that's
till
right. They
October.
changed it till later.
All
Right.
weekend is
Yeah,
mountain
okay.
time.
No, we're still
So,
good.
we're still
Never
good.
mind.
I
Strike
actually
that.
think it's the first week in November this year.
Okay, so it's later.
All
So
right.
yeah, so we'll still be Pacific Standard.
All right.
All weekend is mountain time.
What?
You're welcome.
Stop it, Jack. And we are still looking for a host for Friday and Saturday. So if you're interested in hosting, it is a commitment. It is an all-day thing, but don't fear. We will be running StreamYard from our side. So
Yeah, we'll be here to help you out.
we'll be here to help you out. So if you're interested in hosting, we'd really appreciate it. Amy did an incredible job last time she did it, and we're looking for some new blood in there. So if you're interested, reach out to us and being a host. And if you just want to participate, you have an hour block. You can talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about. Have whatever guest you want on.
Uh-oh.
And we even have some live investigations. So that's always a lot of fun too. So yeah, check it out. Like I said, email us at thetruthaboutbeer@gmail.com. And if you are new joining us tonight, which I knew I did see some
Yeah, I did see
some new names on
folks
there, please go subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate it.
Or at least come back.
And we absolutely come back.
And hit that thumbs up button and comment and share.
Yes, absolutely. And be sure to tell all your friends and family about us. We are a lot of fun every Tuesday night. We've got
If you like to drink beer with us,
we always have a different beer.
we don't like to drink alone.
This beer wasn't bad. It was actually
No,
pretty
that
good.
was good.
So shout out to Omega. Really, Jack? I was gonna say, was that the wrong button you hit?
Yes.
So Omega Gang Brewery in Cooperstown, New York, happened to be our hometown. So we feature it instead of Pabst Blue Rhythm, like we did on your episode.
You're from New York?
Yes.
New York.
What was that episode?
Yeah.
What episode was that? 5? Was
Five.
it 5? Yeah,
5 the
5 in
first
season 1.
Yeah.
That's
We did,
still getting
so-
views.
It is. It is. So go check it out if you haven't seen that. And we really appreciate everybody hanging out with us tonight. It's always a lot of fun.
Ooh.
And
got
we
water.
got nothing left to toast, but we'll toast anyway. What the
My
hell?
clear
Your clear water,
green
I'll
flask.
toast my water too.
Refill.
So,
my hydro flask.
all right, everybody, thank you very much for joining us once again. Go check out those 2 books, Twice Upon a Time and So Would You Be Walker. When it comes out sometime in August, we'll let you know. We'll keep you updated on that.
Available on Amazon.
Yes, and wherever your books are sold.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounded like a commercial.
You do.
That was good.
Wow. We be professionals.
All right, so until next week, part 3 of our series, we're going to be talking about clones
Oh, it's going to be fun.
and metahumans, right? You're
Yeah.
bringing metahumans in that? I think so.
Might as well.
Yeah,
yeah.
might as well.
Metahumans.
Might as well talk about that. So, Jack, I hope you're ready for that.
You know it.
You go already.
All right, well, have a good night. Thanks for joining us. Till
Yeah.
next time, spread the truth about beer and
Reincarnation.
Good-
I'm sorry.
good night, everybody. Cheers.
Warning. Viewer listener discretion is advised. The majority of the content of this program is not factual. It is highly advised that it not be used for teaching your children from said content, other than making an example out of the hosts of what they should not grow up to be. Remember this. It's the beer talking.
Welcome to the truth about beer.
Oh, crap. The word interesting.
Join us as we seek out the truth. The truth.